It's Leap Day, February 29th, 2008, and in today's Space Update, NASA's senior managers completed a review today of Space Shuttle Endeavour's readiness for flight and selected March 11th as the official launch date for the STS-123 mission. Launch is currently scheduled for the early morning hours from Kennedy Space Center at 2:28 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time from Launch Complex 39A.
And other NASA centers. Mr. Gerstenmaier.
Thanks, Mike. We had a very thorough review over the past day and a half. The teams are ready to go launch here on March 11th, and we set the launch date as March 11th. We're really not working very many open items, and that's a tribute to the team and the great performance of Atlantis. There wasn't a lot of work that we're carrying forward out of this review into the next review at L-2, so that's a tribute to the team, and it's also evidence that we're really ready to go fly, and we're not rushing things, or things are not being moved too fast.
The processing of Endeavour out at Launch Complex 39A is going extremely well. We're right on the timeline. The program challenged us to do a rather quick pad flow this time with essentially no contingency days in that flow, and the team stepped up to that challenge, and I'm pleased to report we're right on that timeline. We will finish our hypergolic loading this evening, open up the launch pad, and get into our closeouts of the aft compartment of the orbiter starting tomorrow morning. Sunday evening we'll get into the final ordnance installation and connections, and next week is a week of pad closeouts. We'll pressurize the high-pressure GN2 and helium tanks on board the orbiter, looking for a call to stations for launch countdown at about 2:30 in the morning on Saturday morning. So right now all things are going really well on Endeavour and the other supporting systems. We have a nice low number of problem reports out there that we're working through. So Endeavour is doing really, really well. We're looking forward to launch on the 11th. That's it.
During the 16-day mission, the crew will deliver and install the first section of the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency's Kibo laboratory and the Canadian Space Agency's two-armed robotic system, Dexter. 5 spacewalks will be conducted during the flight. Endeavour's launch date was announced after the conclusion of Friday's flight readiness review. During the 2-day meeting, top NASA and contractor managers assessed the risks associated with the mission and determined the shuttle's equipment, support systems, and procedures are ready for flight. Commander Dominic Gorey will be joined on STS-123 by pilot Gregory H. Johnson, mission specialist Robert L. Benkin, Mike Foreman, Rick Linehan, Garrick Reisman, and Japanese astronaut Takao Doi. Reisman will remain on the station as a resident crew member, replacing station flight engineer Leopold Eyarts of the European Space Agency, who will return home on Endeavour. The Japanese Experiment Logistics Module Pressurized Section, called the JLP, is really just the warm-up act for JAXA. It will contain critical avionics and serve as a storage area for experiment materials. At 14.4 feet in diameter and 12.8 feet in length, it is the smaller of 2 pressurized Japanese modules that will eventually make up the entire Japanese experiment module complex. Combined with other elements, they will make up Kibo, the station's Japanese complex that is named for the Japanese word for hope. Kibo's main facility and its robotic arm are scheduled to launch on the following shuttle mission, STS-124, and a front porch that will allow astronauts to expose experiments directly to space will be delivered on a later flight. On the first of the 5 spacewalks of the mission, mission specialists Rick Linehan and Garrett Reisman will go outside the station to prepare the Kibo module for installation, and Doi will install the module from inside using the shuttle's robotic arm. This mission will feature a record-setting 12 days docked at the space station. This flight is the first to go into the mission planning to take full advantage of the station-to-shuttle power transfer system. Other shuttle flights have been able to use the system to glean extra power from the station and extend their flight, but the decision to do so was always made after the shuttle was in orbit. Endeavour, however, is launching with the expectation of staying in space for 16 days, making it one of the longest shuttle missions ever. and there are always extra days set aside in case weather or a technical problem delays landing. After getting the JAXA module installed, the crew's attention will turn to the Canadian Space Agency's newest contribution to the station, the Special Purpose Dexterous Manipulator. Dubbed Dexter by a Canada-wide naming contest, the robot, with its 2 small robotic arms, will attach to the station's robotic arm, Canadarm2, and allow astronauts to replace hardware outside the station without having to do a risky spacewalk. It's a complicated piece of hardware, and because it is launched in several pieces, some assembly and EVAs will be required to get it fully installed. The final 2 spacewalks of the mission will come on flight days 11 and 13. The 4th spacewalk will be used to replace a remote power control module and test a shuttle tile repair material. The repair material test was originally scheduled for Discovery's mission last October, but was rescheduled so that problems with the station's solar arrays could be addressed. The goal is to complete this test before Space Shuttle Atlantis flies to the Hubble Space Telescope in August, in case a tile repair is needed on that mission. Unlike missions to the space station, Atlantis crew members wouldn't be able to wait on the station for another shuttle to bring them home if Atlantis was irreparably damaged on orbit. And on the 5th spacewalk, mission specialists Robert L. Benkin and Mike Foreman will store on the station the orbiter boom sensor system. The OBSS attaches to the shuttle's robotic arm for heat shield inspections after launch and before landing. The boom is being stored on orbit since the next shuttle flight will not have enough room to carry both the boom and the larger JAXA module in the cargo bay. The larger JAXA module was designed and built before the Columbia accident in 2003, and so provisions could not be made for the accommodation of the addition of the OBSS system that was implemented after Columbia. Gorey and pilot Gregory H. Johnson will perform Endeavour's inspection with the OBSS on flight day 12 before the boom is stowed, rather than after the shuttle undocks as is normal. That's just one of the many robotic arm tasks set for the crew inside the station to do when no one is outside on a spacewalk. Of the 16 days Endeavour will be in space, robotics work is planned for 12 of them, in addition to the inside work needed to outfit the JLP and the outfitting work planned for Columbus, the European laboratory, which will have been on orbit for only a few weeks, having been launched in February. Plus, Reisman will have some moving to do. He'll be staying on the station after the shuttle leaves, trading places with European Space Agency astronaut Leopold Eyarts. Reisman will join the Expedition 17 crew, which is commanded by U.S. astronaut Peggy Whitson, along with Russian flight engineer Yuri Malenchenko. Flying on the 122nd Space Shuttle mission in the history of the program, Endeavour is scheduled to undock from the space station around 8 p.m. on March 24th and return to land back at Kennedy Space Center at 8:35 p.m. on March 26th. And that is the space update for today, February 29th, 2008. Please visit us at the Spacearium, www.spacearium.com or www.spaceflightnews.net. And thank you for listening.